Hello everyone, welcome to the new episode of Professionals Unplugged. I am your host Utkarsh Shukla and let me introduce you to my guest Joseph. Joseph, thank you so much for accepting our invite.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you, Joseph. So let's begin with our podcast. Can you please introduce yourself or can you please introduce yourself to us, like who you are, what work you do, anything you want us to know about yourself, or who is Joseph according to you?
It's a deep question. It can go on for long, but I'm a chief technology officer of an IT services company. Uh, but I am a lot more passionate about being a homeschooling dad. I homeschool two boys, and it has been interesting teaching them, seeing them grow, and seeing them doing things which I never thought that they will do. So those are some of the things that I really enjoy. I also coach some of the leaders, technical leaders, and I also have a podcast. I've not been active since March this year, 2024. But yeah, I mean, released 100 episodes. So those are the things that I do. I think that is what would define Joseph as.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty much a lot of things that you have covered in that short intro. So let's begin with your CTO journey. Can you please help us to know what role a CTO has to play in a company's development or in a company's growth, and how a day look like in a life of a CTO?
Okay. The way I define that is two broad categories. In the first category is the job title itself, Chief Technology Officer, right? As a chief, it's my job to, primarily my job is as a chief to decision making, to decide what direction my team, my company has to take with respect to technology. There are always newer technology that are coming in. Some are hype, some are really true. It will change. So I need to evaluate what we need to bet on. So that is one major work that happens with me. So I need to study what's happening in the market, what are the new technologies that are coming in, which technologies will really help us, what should be our bet, even in that particular technology, what are the things that we should do, and all of those kinds of stuff. So that happens on the chief part of it. In the chief part, there are other things as well. As I said, everything to do with decision making. What kind of people should we hire? What should be the technology policy? What should be the technology direction? How should we utilize the tools that are available in the market? So all of those decision making is part of the chief part of it. The officer part of it is to be like, I like to do things. It is not just sitting, and strategy is not just deciding the big picture and all of those kinds of stuff, but actually doing it also. So as an officer, there are things that I need to do, but much more to do with this facilitation. When I ask my team to do a POC or architect or whatsoever, I need to facilitate them, facilitate their growth, facilitate their learning, facilitate their job. All of that comes under the officer job. Uh, it can be as mundane as what kind of laptop they should have and what kind of policy should exist on the laptop, to everything like, what kind of a cloud environment we should have, who gets access, all of those kinds of stuff. So it is primarily a facilitation side. And the technology part is, which I explained, as a technology, I'm in charge of the technology. All the technology decisions roll up to me. So it could be sometimes very overwhelming. You are always deciding with 80% of the data. It is never, you don't have all the data to decide. So it is always only partial facts that you have. Second is also, the technology field is changing very rapidly. So you need to be able to run with it. You cannot just sit back and say, oh, you know what, when everything settles down, I will take a decision kind of a stuff, right? So this is one part of looking at CTO job. The another part of looking at the job is what is the external actions duty and what is the internal action. Internally, I am responsible for growing up my technology team, the architects team. So what do they need? What's the training they need? What are the tools they need? What's the kind of environment they need in which the technologist will grow and thrive? So that is my job. So to create all of that is my job. Looking externally, so I am the spokesperson, so to speak, for the company with respect to technology. So if there is any sales calls, lead calls that come in, I need to participate. If there is anything to do with technology, brand building of the company, going out and speaking in different colleges, all of that is part of the CTO job as well with respect to technology. So that is how it will look like mostly.
I think that is one of the best definition of CTO that I have heard from someone. You have just dissect each and every element of CTO and have given us the best definition. I think that probably could be. And you have mentioned a pretty good point, like whenever a new technology comes, you need to evaluate on it and to know it's rather than hype or it's really matters to us. So how you maintain that balance in your life, right? Because you have a lot of tasks, and if something new comes up to you, and as a consulting service, clients may directly ask you like they want this technology only. So how you maintain that balance between different things in your life, or is there any pattern that you try to follow that helps you in your day-to-day life?
This itself could be a episode on its own, but the fundamental thing is there are certain things that does not change, whether it is your life or technology. There are certain things that does not change, certain things that are well proven over a very, very long period of time. So let us say, for example, take the database technology. Postgres, MariaDB, MySQL, basically, all of these have been tested in multiple different scenarios, multiple scalings, all of those things have been tested. So when customer comes in and gives, so when customers are coming in, generally we could play one of the two roles as a services company. We could be extended hands. They will have their own IT team. They are only looking at extension of their IT team. So they'll say, okay, give us a couple of more developers. Then our approach is different. Then probably we will go with whatever the customer is asking for. What they will put in an architecture, and then we will go with the architecture. Sometimes the customer will come in and expect us to be an extended head, which is we decide the architecture. They'll come in and say, I'm a business expert in this particular domain. I know this domain, but I do not know anything about technology. I will not teach you technology. You don't teach me business. You do whatever the technology is, right? Then we are responsible for the design and architecture and so on and so forth. So then we go deep dive into those kinds of stuff. So when that opportunity is given to me, we normally choose the boring, so to speak, which is well proven. So this is what I tell my team all the time. Saturdays and Sundays, I want to sleep peacefully. I don't want to be woken up for an escalation. So the software, when you are developing software, there could be Fred Brooks, which is like, I don't know whether you have read this book, Mythical Man-Month. That's, in my opinion, must read for all the technologists. In that, he says, software, when you are developing a software, there are two types of complexities that you can bring in. One is the essential complexity, which comes because of the business. Whatever the business that you are in, say, for example, the financial domain has its own complexity, the rules and all of that. Healthcare, it has its own complexity, which is the essential complexity that you need to model in the software. The other one is the accidental complexity, which comes because of the software components that you are choosing, the way you develop, the algorithm that you choose, all of those kinds of stuff. A lot of times we can actually minimize the accidental complexity. My job is to prevent or minimize this accidental complexity in software development for our customers. So for that, we choose the proven boring technologies, so that I tell my team, if you want to sleep peacefully over the weekend, you want to spend time with your kids, then choose boring technologies. Be sure of every moving part that is in the software and ensure that you know why it is there. The more parts that are there, the more complexity that you have to deal with, the more opportunities for things to go wrong, and so on and so forth. So that is how I do it. So generally speaking, if choice is given to me, I will go for boring technologies, boring architectures, and so on and so forth. It's just plain thing, so that the accidental complexities are lower. The essential complexity, we can focus on the essential complexity, the business complexities. Sometimes the customer will come in and say, "This is exactly I want. I want the latest." See, today MongoDB is not latest. It has been proven now, but at one point in time, MongoDB was. So they would have Googled, they would have talked to some consultant, they would have said, "Oh, MongoDB is the newest one." Then they will say, "Okay, you need to go with MongoDB," even though at that time it was not proven. So the literature will not be available. If you are stuck with a problem, if you have a bug to debug, there is no literature available. So then you are kind of have to debug all of those kinds of stuff. So you are spending your weekends solving a problem which you could have avoided. Now the literature is available. So I don't mind taking MongoDB today, right? So things like that. So if the customer is asking, probably they will come back with certain kind of these kinds of newer technologies, then we will go with it. Otherwise, we normally choose boring technologies.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on this point, Joseph. Like sometimes we go after the new trending technologies and we got ourselves stuck with the complexity that you mentioned. We are ourselves creating that because with the new packages or new things, I think the problem is of the documentation or the
Yes.
currently updating things that are happening. Because sometimes there are few bugs that are yet to be addressed for the new technologies or some new methods that need to be found. So I think that is the best answer you have given us. Like if you are building a complex system, make sure you are using the proven things, and in order to avoid the extra complexity on the things, right? And to have a great weekend and to have a better life, right? Right. So let's get to our next question. So any story you like to share with us from your personal or professional life that you think should be heard?
See, there's a quite a lot that you could. Sorry.
Or anything you want to share with us?
So there's a quite a lot that I could share, both from professional and personal life. I just hit half a century, so there's quite a lot of stories that I can share. But I will share from uh, technological, because you're interviewing me as a technologist. So I will talk to you on that. And one thing I want to tell you, like today you see me as a technologist, CTO, and I'm responsible for a lot of stuff. And this often happens that we will look at somebody at a higher position and we will think they have not made any mistakes. They just zoomed through from college to that particular position. That is not really true. So I'm going to tell you a couple of mistakes that I have done in my life. So it was my first release in a client place. There was a client team as well. And so we were doing some of the releases. And I shadowed the release manager for a while. And then the release manager said, "Now, Joseph, it's your time for you to do the release." And so he had told me everything. So I had a checklist. I thought I had prepared a very good checklist. I went through it. Everything was fine. And then I went and executed the command. I gave that particular script and I said, execute this. And then the first thing that I saw was drop tables. And it was happening, drop table one, second, third. I was panicking. It was in a European country in a winter time. So it was cold, but I was sweating because I was seeing drop table one by one, and I was doing Control C, Control D, whatever I could think of. I was doing all of those kinds of stuff, but the command was getting executed in a server. So it doesn't really matter whatever command I gave, it just went through. And so the release manager came in. So he had gone out for a break. he came back and I said, Stephen, I don't know what happened. This happened. I know you're going to be pissed off. You're going to send me back. I'm sorry. That's okay. And I was just blabbering. He said, Joseph, it's okay. You only did this in staging server. It's okay. So it is not in production. Uh, so the point is, even though you might write all the release checklist, you could run multiple rehearsals, you could still make mistakes as bad as dropping tables from the database. That happens. That's one thing that I have done. There are a couple of other mistakes that I have done as well. In one of this is not a mistake per se of me, but so in one of the avatars that I've taken, I was a technology consultant to Government of India. So we were handing over that particular project. It was a portal that was developed. We were handing it over from one large Indian MNC to another large Indian MNC. I was part of the transition team. So a lot of people had to check few things. I was in charge of checking few things. And the portal was developed and maintained by one large MNC, Indian MNC. I mean, very well known for their quality and everything. It was going to another large MNC. So we were all thinking there shouldn't be any problem at all. But the portal went down. And after about a week, the portal went down. And it couldn't come up for almost like 10 days. So we were all scrambling. 10 days. Our names were put on the first page of Economic Times. When I say our names, not my name, the department name and the ministry name was put up on the first page of Economic Times. And obviously, it was a very, very tense time. So the lesson that I learned there is, even though large companies are involved, there could still be problems. There could still be issues that are coming up which you don't foresee. And then you need to do it. You need to kind of, get involved and do it. My time with Government of India was also very, very fulfilling and satisfying, because a lot of times we as technologists, we don't get the opportunity to contribute to the country's development. Usually it is the army and all of those is what we see, public servants and all of those kinds of stuff. So for me, it was a great opportunity to learn from some of the top officers and to go through things like this, to learn. And that is what has shaped me. So those are the two stories I thought I'll share with you.
I think that's a pretty awesome and pretty much to take away from it, like you have mentioned, right? So that's pretty awesome of you. So, is there any dream that you persist right now, or any goal you want to achieve? I think already you are doing great stuff with being CTO and host. So, what's next for you?
So since I shared stories from my professional life, uh, I do have dreams of my professional life also. Even though I have hit half a century, I still think I'm just now getting started. But I will tell you about my personal dream, since I talked about the professional stories. There is a pilgrimage path in Spain called, I think it is called Compostela Santiago. It is called the St. James Way. So you could walk for 20 days or you could walk for 30 days, depending on the starting place and the end place that you choose. You could walk for 20 or 30 days kind of a stuff. So that is something that I want to walk. You can't have any devices. You cannot have mobile phone. You can have mobile phone because every evening you will go and sleep in a particular place. But then you're not going to be talking. You're walking. Every day you are walking. I sometimes imagine how it would be if I can take it, because in my day life, every day I'm doing something or the other. I'm not sitting idle, but just walking for 20 days, how it is going to be. So that is something that I want to do. Probably like I've set myself about 5-year goal. I want to walk within that particular time. So let's see.
I hope you complete it soon, and then we can do an episode on the same, like what was the journey all about, right?
True.
So I have one question around the CTO thing that you mentioned. Like you are also involved in the hiring process in order to hire great minds. So what is that one thing that you generally see in a people? Like some people are good with technology, while some people are good in culture, while some are a mix of a both. So what do you think are the key points for someone to be a good part of a company rather than being a good technology person? So what are those points if you can just help us?
So I will answer your question in two parts. One is the exact question that you asked. See, however great you are, the software development is always a team sport. It is not a single person's thing. You could be 10x developer in the sense that you are really, really good at, you are very productive and all of those kinds of stuff. But it is always a team sport. It So you need to learn to gel with the team and take the team forward. The definition of a leader, in my opinion, so even if you're a 10x person, you are really, really good at what you're doing. The definition of a leader is somebody who takes another to a distance which they never thought they themselves could go. When I grew up and when I joined the workforce, I'm from a town, village. I never thought of any of these kinds of stuff because again, I grew up in an era where there was no internet and we were not exposed to all of those kinds of stuff, right? So I'm from deep south, near Kanyakumari. So my only thing was, okay, I should work in Chennai because that's the furthest I knew. But today I've gone across the world. I'm now working in North India. I work for Government of India. All of that was possible because there were certain leaders, especially two mentors, who broadened my vision and took me beyond what I thought I could go. So every leader will have to be, every developer, every technical architect will have to be like that. So it is that particular thing that is needed. Okay. The other aspect is now with all of this generative AI, the code that can generate and all of those kinds of stuff, what is going to define us is going to be the humanity. It's going to be that teamwork. It's going to be that verbal skills that we will have. So that is what is going to define us going forward. So if you want to be really proud of, say, if you want to do some work, really good work also, you can be a great technologist and then you can get away with it. But if you want to be proud of what you are doing, then it has to be a team sport. You need to be part of a team and you need to bring the team along moving forward. If everybody in the team thinks of that, then I think that particular team will excel and they will do far beyond every individual can think of. So that's why there is a saying, the sum is greater than the parts, right? The example that I give is, there is sugar, there is coffee powder, there is milk. Individually, they might be fantastic, but only when they come together, it is something that is enjoyable for everybody, right? So only when the team comes together and they think beyond their individual self, I think it will be going forward. So you could be whoever you are. You're a fantastic technologist. You can learn fast. You are very productive. All of that is fine. You have to be, but you should be able to work with the team and take the team forward beyond what they thought they could. So I think that is what would be the need in the future. And that is what I look at generally.
Yeah, I think that's a very amazing answer that you have given us. You need to take care of your team as well. So, just one question on the same. Sometimes it's not easy for us to handle the team as well because everyone is going through their own life, and sometimes people are not able to perform as your expectation or as the team expectation. Then, how we should handle this situation? If you can just enlighten us.
It really depends on which layer or which level that you are in. Sometimes you can do it. Sometimes just that it is not possible. You are probably a junior most person. You really cannot influence the culture much. I believe even as a junior person, you can. I have seen a lot of people do that, but there's not much of a leverage that you have. I'm going to answer as, say, for example, you are a leader, you have a large influence and everything. Is that you need to understand where the team members are. See, a lot of times today, the leaders, they will know the person, but they don't know anything beyond that. Who are they? What is your default style? Some of us are very detailed oriented. Some of us are, okay, give me a big picture, I'll go and figure it out. A lot of different personality types that we have. Manager or a leader don't even understand all of those kinds of stuff. And they don't spend time together. A lot of times we talk about army or the military as the best teams, things, or even sports people. They spend a lot of time together off the field. And if you would actually follow, they spend a lot of time off the field than on the field. We don't do that in software development. Only when you spend time together, you will be able to know each other, and then you will be able to do that. So that's the first thing. You need to spend a lot of time together beyond your work time. Only then you will be able to understand. So that's the first thing that you need to understand. Second is, what happens is, especially in India, most of us become engineers and then figure out what our passions are, what we really talented are. We become engineers because my mom said, my dad said, all my brothers are engineers, especially software engineers. So I became a software engineer. But my heart itself is not there. And I am not talented for it. But I am there because it gives me a lot of money. So I'm not able to learn because my heart is not in it. I'm not talented for it. I'm not in it. One of my managers said this: the earlier you could give feedback to your team member, that's the best gift you can give. So instead of trying to fit the square peg and a round hole, if you could give that particular feedback, hey, you are like this, probably these are the opportunities that are good for you. And within the company, these opportunities are available. You should go and work there. I think that's the best that you can give, gift that you can give to that particular person. That can come in a really, really empathetic manner, only if you have spent time with them. Otherwise, it will come off as, oh, you are trying to fire me and you are just giving me reasons for that. So that's the second thing that I would say. The third is, what can you do for that particular person when they are not able to do it? Because as you said, we are all going through different phases. It is not that I am always very productive, always very energetic, always very happy. There are seasons in which I am down. Everybody is. So can you look at that and then say, okay, this person, they had a baby, even if it is a father, they had a baby, they didn't sleep in the night. So that's why they are drowsy in the meetings. Whatever be the reasons, they are going through some tough time. Their mother passed away. So they are down. They are not able to decide. It's okay. We will carry through. So can you understand why they are down, and then you can do that? If none of those things works, can you tell them it's time for you to go? A lot of times we don't do any of those kinds of three things. And even when we fire in a very, very brutal manner that actually kills their spirit. They don't want to work again. They want to just lock themselves up. That's a very bad way of handling, in my opinion. So if you do these things, I think that's the best way to handle.
I think you have just covered all those ground realities that we face in our day-to-day life, and you have also provided a solution for the same. So thank you so much for enlightening us on the same and sharing your experience. I think it was one of my best podcasts that I have on covering the ground realities of a life of a CTO or the life of a corporate world, I can say also. So thank you so much, Joseph. It was really an amazing experience talking to. I hope a lot of people will learn from you through this podcast, as you have shared a lot of truths and a lot of things on how we can overcome those things. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us.
Thank you for having me here and asking very relevant questions. Short podcast, but very relevant questions. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, sir.